All right, aloha everyone. My name is Alyssa MacDonald and I teach biology and I'm the Marine Option Program and Biology Discipline Program Coordinator at Leeward Community College. So thank you all for joining today. I know that there were a couple of technical difficulties at the beginning, but I appreciate your patience for all of that. I promise I will try not to have any more technical difficulties, but I'm really bad at this already. So Tasha, if I could just have screen sharing
Sure.
privileges, then I will be able to share the presentation with everyone. But thank you for being here. I know that, just to give you a little background on me, time management can be a challenge. So when I started at Leeward, I was also still teaching online for another college as a part-time gig. And so balancing those two, and then I decided I didn't have enough on my plate. So I also started a PhD program. So I was a student while also a teacher. And the time management was very, very challenging. So these are the tips and tricks that I have put together. And I know that Chris, I believe, is here, has also some wonderful tips. So feel free to chime in with anything you would like to share as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. I am a visual person, so you'll see lots of pictures of my dog and memes and all sorts of things in here. So apologies if it gets a little overwhelming, but ready, set, here we go. Helpful hints for managing your time. Okay. So we can't start any presentation without addressing the challenging times that we are all living in. And I understand that we've heard it enough, but I'm just going to reiterate. We know that this is a struggle. Time management is a struggle during normal times, but when you have to balance an online class, a hybrid class, an in-person class, and your family and your job and your other responsibilities, it is extremely challenging. So I'm sharing with you my favorite quote at the bottom here from Tolkien. So I'm a huge Lord of the Rings nerd. We'll have a separate presentation on that someday. Write that down, Tasha. We're doing it. But for right now, we'll just talk about how, all we have to do is decide what to do with the time given to us. And I love this quote because you have the same 24 hours that everybody else gets in a day. It's what we want to do and what we can do with that time that we really need to focus on. So now you can learn from anywhere. This is Carlos, my dog. He, learns from the beach. He learns at home. He's currently sleeping in that first position directly behind me under his blankets. So you can learn from anywhere with anyone around you. And that can be a good thing if he's sleeping very nicely behind me. And it can be a very distracting thing if he starts barking at any point in this presentation. You have to learn how to deal with the distractions as well as the fact that you can now learn in your pajamas. It's good and bad all at once. So we know that it can be stressful, especially for those of you who had a rocky transition, and I'm talking about faculty as well as the students into that online learning environment. So we're going to take a moment to pat ourselves on the back and say that we've survived this far, and hopefully we can continue moving forward. Okay, so how do we manage? I love this picture. This is from a little girl on her first day of school, before and after her first day of school. And that's how I feel some days. Be honest with yourself. We all have had these days. And so we need to find a way to manage our times. We're a little more of the girl on the left than the girl on the right, who is in fact the same girl, but we want to look a little more put together and feel a little more put together by managing our time. So first tip and trick for online learning, be honest with yourself. And I think that this goes for anything you are struggling with in your life. So this might also life lesson in addition to time management lesson, but be honest with yourself. What are you able to do? How do you normally spend your time? So I recommend over the next week, my first tip is to keep track of your time. What are you doing? How long are you spending doing each of these activities? And of course, make sure that you're getting enough sleep. That's another thing to track. So if you have, I think they're Fitbits or Apple Watches or any of those, they can track things for you. And so I'm a big data person. I like tracking the steps and tracking the activity and tracking the calories and all that good stuff that they do for you. Track your time as well. So see what you're doing, how much time you're spending on social media, how much time you're spending watching TV, how much time you're spending on homework, with family, at work. What are you doing for how long? Then at the end of that week, sit down and look at that wonderful data that you've just collected. So spending time to make more time for your future. Think of it that way. Spend some time thinking about what you do and use that to analyze it. So what did you spend the most time on? Where can you pull some of that time from? So we know we need to prioritize our time. Work, family, school, these are all important responsibilities. But you know, social media is kind of fun. And so I also get lost down those rabbit holes, hence where I find all these memes. And you should include some time for your mental health. I found the biggest challenge during the pandemic personally was taking the time to take care of myself. So having that mental health break, allowing yourself, you know what, I just can't think about anything right now. I just need to mindlessly scroll through Instagram. That'll make me feel calm. Great. Spend that time doing what you need to do, but track it and make sure that you're not spending 8 hours on Instagram. One thing I did learn, my sister taught me because she's much more tech savvy than I am, was to actually put a setting on your Instagram and it'll pop up a little warning telling you, you've been on Instagram for an hour today or 2 hours today. You can set it to whatever. And that was one of the most helpful things because I didn't realize how much time I would spend mindlessly scrolling. But now that I'm being honest with myself and Instagram is sending me those little messages, I know when to log off and when to turn things off and focus back on the work at hand. As much as I love scrolling through all those adorable little animals on Instagram, it does help my mental health. So I will take some time to do it, you know, during the week, but I'll limit it to no more than an hour at a time or an hour throughout the course of, you know, the day to try and spend time doing other things because the priority is there. Work responsibilities, family responsibilities, school responsibilities should all be top of the list and things that we need to get done and spend a little bit of time with those cute little dogs on Instagram. So after you've taken down what you've done for the week, figure out what can you spend less time doing. With me, I was doing a lot of crocheting. This makes me sound really cool, by the way. I was doing a lot of crocheting and knitting and all these little projects. And it was for charities and for other things and family members and friends. But I was spending a lot of time doing that. And so I had to kind of dial it back and save my poor little fingers from all that crocheting work and instead focus more on other things that were a little more important. So my main tips and tricks can be broken down in this wonderful sentence. Get a system that works for you. You can tell I'm a scientist. I like to just bullet point things right out. So of all of the tips and tricks that I'm sharing with you, take them all and use what works for you. So if you say something and you're like, you know what, I need to spend more than an hour on Instagram, I'm not doing that. Don't do that. It's okay. Get a system that works for you. And it all stems from being honest with yourself. What can you handle? What do you need to do? What, you know, is the challenges you face? So we'll start with get organized. Some of you might recognize Marie Kondo here. So this doesn't spark joy. This is what my desk currently looks like on the top here. But what we're going to do after this meeting is take a few minutes to just organize it so it's at the bottom, because I have found personally that when my area is organized and I feel at least organized, and I have my nice little to-do list here, then, you know, I tend to work better. I'm not as stressed because things don't look as stressful as they do in this picture. The next thing is, it was an A, but I turned it into always, okay? Always check your schedule. So make a schedule and always check it. Because you have a UH email address, you have access to Google Calendars. You can sync it right to your phone if you have a smartphone, and it will send you reminders such as, don't forget to log in to your presentation today, Alyssa. And here I am. Excellent reminders there. I would like to sound tech savvy, but in reality, my to-do list is literally in paper form. So I have an actual, it literally says to do on there. And then I have my little file folder, which has all of my meetings for the week written down by hand, because I know that no matter how much I rely on technology, I'll forget to input something into my calendar, but physically writing it down and carrying this like a gold little booklet that it is will help me. So you have to find the system that works the best for you. And in this case, physically writing it down for me. You may be more tech savvy, you may prefer your Google Calendar, and it's nice because as the emails come in, it'll even say, do you want a calendar invite for this? And you can stick it in your calendar. It'll send you reminders. You can program those reminders to be the day before, to be 10 minutes before, and it will keep you on track. But have a schedule, check your schedule regularly and follow it. And I know that being organized enough to write everything down doesn't always happen. And I have missed things because, you forget to write things down. You forget to click that little add to calendar button. It's okay. It happens. But try to put together a schedule of your time. And with that schedule, don't forget to include things like fun. You can have fun. Oh, I think we have some unmuted people in there. If anyone doesn't mind muting, there we go. All right. Don't forget to check that schedule and try and live by that schedule. The next thing would be a systematic approach to completing your assignments, because now that I have my to-do list, and I love that I was going through my presentation this morning and I was like, oh, look, I do actually have little numbers next to everything. Once you have your to-do list, just write it all down, jot it all down, put it in a Word doc, do whatever you need to do, and then organize it by what is the most important thing to do. And so today, the first thing I had to do was check and make sure my presentation works. Done. Marked that right off. And then go through and one by one, take one thing at a time, because it can be overwhelming to have a very long list of things to do, but it is nice when you can go through just one at a time, check things off and get it done. A lot of the things I'm telling you are obvious. You're like, hey, I know how to make a list. I know how to write down what I do every day. I know how to check a schedule. It tells me right on my phone. But getting in the habit of doing this regularly will set you up to have that extra time where you're not scrambling and looking at, oh, where should I be right now? What should I be doing? Where are these papers? Where is this stuff? Put things in organized places, check your schedule regularly, have a systematic approach for working through that schedule, what's most important, what's least important, and then you can be successful at getting these things done. And then that's how I learn. So for many of us, we don't actually think about the process of learning, but I want us to take a minute for metacognition here and think about the things that help you. You could spend 5 hours reading and rereading your textbook until you are blue in the face. And if it's not sinking in, recognize that it's not sinking in and figure out ways to get that information in more helpful for you ways. So for me, I can't just read a textbook. I have to sit with my notebook. Again, I look like an old person because I just like to write everything down by hand, but there have been studies that show by writing things out by hand instead of typing them, you can actually access different parts of your brain and it will help you remember them better. So for me, I know I can't learn by just reading or just having someone read to me. I need to take those notes. And so I dedicate the time in my classes to write down all the information that I need to know from that, highlight things, underline, copy over my notes, make them make sense after the class is over, rewrite them into a more organized form for me. And that information just sticks in my brain. That might work for me, that might not work for you. So think about what works better. Do you like to listen to the information? So if your professors have recorded their videos and put them online, recorded their lectures, playing it while you're driving in the car instead of the radio, listening to that information over and over and over again can help it sink in. And you're multitasking. You're going where you need to go while absorbing the information. If you have to go to your child's soccer game, you can sit there and listen to it as well as watch the game. So think about times that you can kind of overlap some of your to-do list and help, move yourself forward through that multitasking. So metacognition, for those of you who don't know, I mentioned it, I just wanted to put this in here. It's helping you learn about your process of learning. So look at the task at hand, assess it, evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of what you did the last time you had to do this. So the last time you studied for an exam and you didn't do well, what did you do? How, can we improve upon this? Plan a new approach, maybe spend less time rereading and more time taking notes, or more time listening to the lectures, or more time filling out, the review for the class. And then try that new approach, apply those strategies, and reflect after that next exam and say, okay, how did this go? When I took the exam, what helped me with that? Or when I wrote this paper, what helped me with that? I like how I had all my sources organized. I like how, as I found a source, I put a citation in, so I didn't have to think about my citations at the end. And I just stuck it into the document right away. I like how I went one by one, or I don't like that. I would rather read all the information and synthesize it myself separately and then go back through the sources again. Analyze it, reflect. And this is being honest with yourself. What did you actually spend your time doing for that assignment or for that exam or for that quiz? And how well did that work for you? Did rereading the chapter help? Great, do that again. If it didn't help, try something else. Try a different technique so that you can get better at it. Because if you're not doing well in the course, doing the same thing over and over again is not going to help you do any better. So talk to your professors. I know there are professors on here talking about time management. They can help you save time. They can help you by focusing your learning. They can help you figure out the best ways to study by giving you their own tips. This will save you a ton of time in the end. We are here for you. We are here to answer your questions. And if you're afraid to talk to your professor, which you shouldn't be, email me and I'll talk to you about it. I love talking about study tips. So think about different ways to learn, talk to your professors, and that can help you maximize your time when you're studying or working on an assignment or a paper or whatever. When you know how you could best go about it, you will spend less time doing all of these assignments. Okay, now last but not least, we've got two more. Workspace. Your workspace, as I mentioned, should be organized, like the very first one with Marie Kondo. This gives me joy. This does not give me joy. But your workspace also needs to be an environment in which you can actually work. I understand that during the pandemic, this was one of the biggest challenge because we share computers with our family members. We have children that need our attention. We have pets, not pointing any fingers at anyone, Carlos, but animals that need our attention. We need to find a workspace that works for us. So now that we can return to some in-person things, with the vaccine requirements and all of that, if you figure out that your workspace is not working for you, inside yourself and say that this doesn't work for me, I need to go to the library, and schedule a time in that schedule that you're making to go and use a quieter work environment like the Leeward CC library, to sit, use the computers or sit in one of the study areas and work through your assignments. Spending 8 hours on an assignment that should take 20 minutes because you have to also deal with, family or pets or children or whoever is not beneficial to you. So scheduling a time where, yes, you might have to spend extra time driving over there, but now with that 1 hour of scheduled time, you can get that assignment done in 20 minutes. You don't have to stress about it. It'll make your life a lot easier. So looking at your workspace, the physical workspace, obviously, if you have an area in your house where you normally work, then make sure it's organized, make sure everything's available to you. So you're not running around looking for a calculator, looking for a pen, looking for, a computer charger or phone charger, whatever you're working on. Make sure you have it all there. Make sure that it's organized, because that is time that you could be spending on assignments rather than running around, doing all of these things. Oh, here it is. Okay, now I did talk about social media, so we have to take a moment here to continue to talk about social media. I say forget social media until break time, and it's important to balance what you want to do and your mental health with other things that you need to do. So what I recommend doing when you're making a schedule, you have all of your activities. So you need to be in an in-person class at this time, or you need to be in your hybrid class at this time, and you need an hour to work on your online class. Write it all down and actually physically schedule that time, especially if you have an asynchronous course where you don't have regular meetings. Make sure that when we tell you in those courses, oh, it's going to take you 12 hours to do this week's work, make sure you schedule 12 hours across your week to do that coursework. And if you get it done earlier, great. It might not take you 12 hours, it might only take you 10 hours. Then you've got that extra time where you can do the social media, mindless scrolling that I like to do. Social media is not a bad thing. It actually can help relieve stress and allow you to, connect with people, especially during these times. I have a lot of family on the mainland, so it was nice to go on social media and see what they were doing, have chats with them, texting with people, FaceTiming with people is great. But I would schedule it in. So I was going through my book the other day, and I have girls' date on Friday. And so these are my friends from home. I'm going to have a meeting with them that I have put into my calendar and into my Zoom calendar and everything, to sit and just catch up on life, because we need to have time to connect with each other. So I admit that these connections are necessary. So when I say forget social media until break time, I'm not saying you can never go on the internet ever again to look at Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever else that you may be going on. I'm just saying, be aware of that time, be aware of how much time you're spending on that, and make sure that it's not coming at the detriment of the more important things that you have to do, like your family and work responsibilities and school responsibilities. So that was my preachy moment in this presentation. So overall, I want you to get a system that works for you. You've got this. This is Carlos at the top of Makapu, and he's little. So, okay, this was a big hike for him. I know this is an easy hike, but he's little. So you've got this. You can do this. And here he is cheering you on. You want to make sure the number one way to save time is to manage your time. Chris's presentations before were manage your time, don't let your time manage you. And I am 100% in agreement with that. If you are organized, if you have a schedule that you check regularly, if you have a systematic approach to doing these things, you are managing your time, and your time is not managing you. You're not sitting there going, oh, shoot, it's 11 o'clock. I think I have an assignment due. Oh, yep, that's due tonight. I have 59 minutes to get it done. So if you have that schedule, you know what's coming up, you can prioritize things. And when I say check your schedule, I don't mean just, open it up and be like, oh, that's nice. I have 5 Zoom meetings today. Make sure you prioritize other things around it. So if you have a day that is open, you don't have any classes, your work has, called you off, or you're just not scheduled for that day, your kids are all off at school, you have some extra time, look at that giant to-do list that I'm sure we all have right now and prioritize what needs to be done. And that doesn't mean just what's due this week. One thing I left out, and I meant to say this in the schedule part, is look at your long-term assignments and schedule those assignments, because those deadlines come up all of the time and you don't have, 18 hours straight to work on this assignment. When we give you semester-long assignments, a lot of them are scaffolded in, so you're just working on a little bit of it each week, but some of them are not. And so pay attention to those that just have, the midterm exam or the term paper assignment due. Go in and make sure you schedule some time to study for that midterm, or to start working on pieces of that. And if you have extra, hour here or there, sit down and start looking up the research topic that you've chosen or been assigned. Start looking for those sources, start writing, even a paragraph of it is something that you won't have to do later. So take that extra time, and if you can, put it towards those future assignments. So when I was a student, I had my monthly calendar, and I had the classes color coded, because I'm crazy like that, but you don't have to do that, but I do, because it works for me. So I color coded all the assignments, and I color coded the big assignments, and I put big stars next to things that I had to do. And it looked really stressful to anyone who came into my office, but it helped me, because I could say, oh, green, okay, I have to do this for, advanced animal nutrition, or yellow, I have to do this for my grant writing class. And I could make sure to prioritize this class is on this day. So I have to make sure that all that work is done before then, and kind of put things in order. So if that's a Google Calendar, reminder or an invite, if that's a physical time on your schedule to say these 2 hours are dedicated to this class, great. And I know that many of you may be looking at me right now, even though your screens are off, and saying, yeah, I don't have time to do all that. But you do. If you plan and you organize what works best for you, it will help you save so much time in the long run. And I find myself, if I have 15 minutes between meetings, doing, emails or other things to try and stay on top of my work, because managing your time will save you time in the long run. Okay, that felt very preachy again. So what are we going to talk about next? Northeastern University put together this really wonderful set of tips, and it's for online courses specifically. And I know that most of you are still in at least one online course, so I've kept it into this presentation. And as I was just saying, their number one tip here is treat an online course like a real course. And that's not to say that online courses are not real courses. That's just saying treat it as if you have to physically be somewhere at a certain time and stick to that. So if I say Tuesdays, 10:30 to 11:30 is my biology class, I will only work on biology during that time as if I had to go to a classroom for that biology class. And with being honest, with yourself, make sure you hold yourself accountable. Don't be too mean to yourself. I'm going to put that as a little side note to their tip. Hold yourself accountable. If it's 10:30 and you're supposed to be in your online class, make sure that you actually stop what you're doing and go and work on that course, right? Make sure that you have that time dedicated for each of your classes and you actually utilize that time. Or you have that time dedicated to family time and you actually use that time. Hold yourself accountable within reason. We have those days where sometimes we can't get things done like we want to. Just try and hold yourself accountable, try and show up for those times. And then practice time management with all the tips that I just gave you with getting yourself organized and all of that. It takes time to make time. So take that time to organize yourself, to set up the schedule, to make sure your week is planned out, and then follow it. And you'll find that you do actually have extra time throughout the week, even with all that extra planning time built in. Create a regular study space and stay organized, as we already mentioned. Have an area dedicated to it. We might not all have an office in our house. It might be, a space on the couch that this is my study place. This is where all my study things are. Keep it together. I had in my other apartment, I had a little bag with all of my stuff in it. So I had all my chargers, my pens, my pencils, everything was ready to go. So when I was ready to, get my work done, wherever I was doing that in the apartment, I could just take the bag and that was my study space. It doesn't have to be a physical location, but just somewhere to keep all of your class stuff. And that's, the computer, the charger, the pens, the notebooks, the books themselves. Keep it all in one area. And that way it'll save you time so that you're not running from room to room looking for your pens or your notebook or whatever. Eliminate distractions. I know during the pandemic, this was particularly challenging because all your distractions were stuck in your house with you. So you can't eliminate them necessarily, but try and find an area to work with them. And as I said, you can go back to the Leeward Library and utilize those study spaces to help you minimize the distractions and get what should only take you an hour done in an hour, instead of dealing with the distractions and taking 5 hours to get something done. Figure out how you learn best. So as I mentioned, think about those metacognitive strategies. Be honest with yourself. After you turn in an assignment and you get the graded feedback, take 5 minutes to look at that feedback and think, hey, what did my English professor say that I needed to do better on this next assignment? If I didn't do well on my sources, maybe on my next assignment, as I'm looking up these references, I do the sources first to make sure that those are perfect for the next assignment, because that's where I lost points. And then, you can kind of analyze what works for you, what didn't work so well for you, and figure out a strategy to not only help you succeed in your courses, but also save time while you're trying to succeed in the courses. And then actively participate. Make sure that you are actually doing the readings, listening to the lectures, showing up to class, actively making sure that you're engaged with the material, because you're paying really good money to be here. So we want you to maximize your time and, your learning experience. And then leverage your network. We all have friends. We make friends in these courses. Yes, even sometimes in our online courses. You can email other students in your class and ask them questions and form study groups, and together you are in fact stronger. I know that working in groups is a particular challenge, but if you find a group of people that you work well with, leverage them. Ask them for, copies of their notes so that you can compare notes. Ask them to help you study. Ask them about a topic that you might not understand. And we, as your professors, are part of your network. So please talk to us. I know we're terrifying sometimes, but at least, try and reach out and see, because we are the experts. We're the ones who are here telling you the information you need to know. So ask us a question about the information. I love questions. You can ask any of my students. I will spend more time emailing back with links and all the other stuff that I can find, because I'm fascinated to find out what you're interested in and answer your questions for you. So remember, your professors are part of that network. And then we have resources for time management, and I clicked on them and I hope they still work, but I will send this presentation to Tasha. She could share it out with you, but we have, resources from the Writing Center. We have videos that include time management by the writing consultants, and we have focused workshops like the using time to reach your goals. All of it will present you with different strategies. So if you watch my whole presentation, you said, oh, there's only like one or two things I like, look at all of these resources. Take this as my gift to you to look at other ways to manage your time and make sure that you're using it efficiently to succeed.
And also, if I might add, if you want to interact with a writing consultant in real time, you can work via Zoom to work on your specific time management issues and strengths, and we can discuss personalized time management strategies for you. Thank you.
Oh, that's awesome, Tasha. Is that through Penji as well, or would they use something else?
Sorry, I was talking, I was muted. Yes, they would sign up for their appointment through Penji. Also, if you need help signing up for an appointment, you can contact us at writers@hawaii.edu, and I'll put the link for our email in the chat.
Awesome. Perfect. And then the last thing I had, oh, your feedback form. Nope. The feedback form is a different one in the chat there. So any questions? I couldn't help putting just one more picture of Carlos in there. All right, we've managed our time. They're like, Alyssa, you told us that if we have extra time, we need to do the things on our list. So we're going to get out of here and do those extra things. I tried to keep the presentation to 35 minutes so that we could have some time for questions, but